Hello everyone and welcome to your second royal reading today, and as promised we're off to Balmoral to have a peek at the Royal Family Summit that is apparently happening next week. Very interesting timing. The story was leaked, I suppose you could say, to the Express from an extremely well-placed source, which is very unusual wording. Extremely well-placed source has told the Express newspaper that the King is convening this family summit next week up at Balmoral, and they're going to be discussing Harry and Meghan's titles, the removal of those titles, and basically long-term planning. How will the Parkles fit into the royal family in the next decade, and basically how the family will move forward in the next decade without the Sussexes. So it's pretty threatening if you're a Sussex supporter that the family is convening. This extremely well-placed source tells us that on the agenda for this long-term planning for the next decade is the removal of the Sussex titles and the planning without the Sussexes. They're out, according to this story. So we're going to check the energy of this story. I've got the new Palladini Tarot on the tarot table for this one. It's a good Royal Family Tarot deck. It's an old school tarot deck. And I'm going to do a Celtic cross from the royal family's point of view. I'm going to ask about this meeting, who's pushing for it behind the scenes, who's the driving force for it, what's the goal, what has Colombia got to do with this, because the Parkles are about to make their appearance in Colombia as I'm doing this reading. And it's interesting that the story was leaked in conjunction with the Parkles and their tour announcement, because for a long time we didn't know when the tour was going to be. Was it going to be now? Was it going to be in November? Suddenly they announced their tour, and just as suddenly this well-placed source tells us the family is having a meeting straight after the tour finishes in Colombia. So I'm getting the sense of wait and see what they do in Colombia. They might be getting themselves into some hot water, going to particular places, and well, not hot water, but they might be being used for a certain agenda because of where they're going in Colombia and issues that they are going to get embroiled in. Slavery and things like that, always awkward for the royal family, of course. Now, I'm not making apologies for them. I'm just saying that it is an awkward situation for the modern royals to have to deal with. And we're going to ask if titles are going, what pressure Charles is under, because he's the one who's got to really pull the trigger on this. Ultimately, the rest of them can all shout and scream and stamp their feet, but Charles is the one that has to do it, or instruct the government to do it. So that's what we're heading for today. Reminder, it's tarot for fun and entertainment. All my opinion, all speculation. Just read energy here. And of course, there is a disclaimer in the box below. I need to do one more. And let's see if the titles are going. The article was quick to tell us that if the titles went for Harry and Meghan, the titles would go for Archie and Lilibet too, and line of succession and all of that was up for debate. So we could be in for an interesting autumn if this extremely well-placed source is truly an extremely well-placed source. Interesting timing, interesting tidbit, and maybe released to just remind Harry and Meghan that those titles aren't theirs forever, and perhaps they need to behave in Colombia. Yeah, he's showing up, the Chariot, William. Major Arcana Cancerian card there. That's Prince William's energy. That's the wheels being set in motion. That is willpower and drive and purpose and my way or the highway kind of an energy that's coming through very powerfully. Cardinal sign Cancer, of course, it's the let's get things done stuff kind of energy, and there it is. So no question about who's the the mover and shaker here, and who wants to push this thing through this coming week in Scotland. Situation the family's facing with Harry and Meghan and the titles. Queen of Cups. I don't know why she's showing up, Mummy Diana showing up here, but it's not necessarily Mummy Diana. It has that energy, of course, the Queen of Cups always, but it's a sentimentality. It's looking at the past. It's, for me, always, it has that energy of a slightly inward looking, wanting to be nurturing, wanting to be kind, wanting to be supportive. It's probably the King's energy that's coming through there as the only parent of these two, of William and Harry, of having to mother them as much as father them. And I'm not saying he did, but he might now, in his older age, shall we say, feel that he owes some kind of parental duty to the mother, to the water sign mother, the Queen of Cups. It's a weird energy coming through, but it's part of this guilt thing that I think he's got going, the King. Guilt, emotional investment, and too soft, too sentimental, too guilty about what happened. He's got two Queens of Cups in his life, of course, current wife and previous wife. Interesting energy. What's the challenge for them now? Royals, Eight of Pentacles, working royals. We got to figure this out. We don't have enough working royals. What are we going to do? And they're not talking about just in the next few months while the Princess of Wales is out of action. They're talking long term, in the next 10 years. And of course, in the next 10 years, a lot could happen for the King's health, the Queen's health, even the Princess of Wales' health. I don't like to say that, but she might have to step back a bit. She might have to take it easy. She might not be able to push herself as hard as she has. So they need to boost their numbers, and of course they at the same time have to jettison two who aren't working royals and aren't pulling their weight, and the two grifters off to see the world. So that's the problem. Working royals, we need more. We need ones who will work and commit and focus and do all the stuff that they need to do. Who's around? Who's the motivating force behind this? Well, we know, but let's have a look and see. Maybe there's someone else lurking there. We've got the Two of Rods in reverse. Is somebody whose plans aren't going right at the moment. Somebody who's... It's William, but it's William who's lost his sidekick. He's lost his spare, because it's about a partnership that has unraveled, and this isn't about his relationship with Catherine, which I've just read on absolutely directly beneath this reading. Two of Rods was the two boys growing up, the partners, the brothers looking out for each other. I've got your back. I'll be around. Count on me. It's us against the world, not anymore. And so this is why, this is in the motivation energy, why, the root of this reading, what is causing all of this. What's causing all of this is the falling out of the two brothers and the plans that they had for all that time, the plans that the King had for all that time as well. Smaller working family, built very much on his direct line, his two sons, and now he's got to go scratching around to try and include Princess Anne's line, maybe Prince Andrew's line, Prince Edward's line. So it's not all about his plan, it's all about who he can sort of rustle up to go and do their duty. So the goal of this meeting, we got the Nine of Rods in reverse. That is, I feel it's Harry's energy, who is damaged, because the Nine of Rods is about somebody who's battered and bruised, but still standing when the card is upright, but damaged. Sometimes there's a bandage around the head. For me as a reader, that bandage around the head can mean mental issues, mental health issues. It's in reverse. It kind of taking away the protection of that person in the Nine of Rods card, which for me is Prince Harry. That's how I'm reading the card, it's my opinion. Taking away the boundaries around him, the protection around him, the ring of protection around him. So he can't have, for instance, royal protection officers. That's just one thing. But he can't also have the protection that his titles offer him. So that's stripping titles. It's stripping the protection that those titles offer. The illusion of being royal adjacent, so that the next time they go off on a tour to some dodgy place, no disrespect to Nigerians or Colombians, but a place that has a less than stellar security reputation or human rights reputation, then they can't go with that gloss of being royals. So that's, for me, is taking away that a circle of protection around Harry, because of course if his titles go, hers go too. So they don't care about that. It's him. He's the focus. This person who is damaged, who is on his last legs, pretty much. I don't mean that literally, but he's very wobbly as who he is and how he's behaving and what his plans are and what's happening in his own life. So let's look at Colombia. The announcement of the tour, the actual tour going ahead right now, and its impact. This is recent past energy. What did this have to do with this decision to convene this family meeting? If anything, might not have had anything to do with it. Was this a last straw? Queen of Swords. That it stiffened the resolve with that Queen of Swords to do something. It's a strong female energy. So it could be someone like Princess Anne saying, okay, enough's enough now. I've recovered from my own personal head injury and now I'm taking charge and we have to do something. But it's a collective energy. It's strategy. The Queen of Swords is cold and hard and shrewd and wise, and was the late Queen Elizabeth. And it's almost as if, okay, we need to do something. We need to get things back on track. What would she have done in this situation? Would she have stripped Harry of his titles and been really firm and harsh? And we've got firm and harsh energy here. It's not sentimental energy. Here we have the problem of the current incumbent. But this Colombia thing, I think, did serve as a motivating factor in the decision to do this, to call this meeting. It's claimed as the king is convening a family summit, which obviously he would technically have to do, but I don't think the impetus is coming from him. I think it's coming from elsewhere, and quite a strong female energy in there, almost a collective female energy for me. So what's going to happen next at the meeting? What's going to go on? What are we going to find out about this? Ooh, we've got betrayal. We've got Three of Swords. It is in reverse. So whatever is happening here is going to be perceived as betrayal, and that would be by Harry. But for the others, it's got a dual meaning for me, this card. Three of Swords is such an awful card. For the others, the people who have been hurt in the past by Harry in particular, also by his wife, of course. For me, this is reading as they're saying we need to get past this energy of hurt and betrayal, this toxic energy that he has brought into our lives, and we need to move on from it. We need to recover. The great impetus would be Catherine in this, because she has been, and the Queen. The Queen has been at the mercy of these attacks as well, accused of all kinds of villainy. And so I think the royal family is feeling we need to do this. We need to stab away and then move on, so that we can start recovering from our own wounds and our own troubles that we've experienced at this one's hands and this one's wife's hands, but this one is going to experience it as devastation. So how do the family view him and her right now, Harry and Meghan, how do they view them? The Wheel of Fortune in reverse. So seeing that they are going down, that whatever they're trying to do is failing, it's bad luck card, it's bad timing. And it's interesting that whenever they launch something, there is something that happens in the world that takes the shine out of whatever they're doing and deflects attention to something else. It's quite interesting how regularly that happens, as if they are somehow doomed. So they see them as bad news, as bad luck, as unpredictable. The Wheel of Fortune is very unpredictable energy. So difficult for the royal family to deal with as well, because they bring that bad luck energy into the royal family of always having to do crisis management. What are they doing now? We have to contain this drama. We have to deal with it. We have to fix it. We have to bounce back from it. Here is the bouncing back. It's painful. It's devastating. It possibly has even, in my opinion, caused illness, cancer, for 2 very senior members of the royal family. That is, of course, my opinion, not based on medical evidence or anything like that. But they're sick of them being just bad news, knocking around in the background, or not even the background, the foreground right now. So what pressure is the king under? He hasn't really shown up in this reading. And so I've specifically designated him as this card, the external pressure card. I want to know what pressure the king is under from the rest of his family, the working members of his family, not the ones in Montecito. And there is a pretty savage energy here with the Knight of Swords, and it's in reverse, almost threatening. You need to do something, and you need to do it now. Stop dilly-dallying. The Knight of Swords is charging in energy, very swift moving, very intellectual, very strategic. So this is the Knight of Swords. Is you need to get busy. You need to sort out the legalities of this, your strategy. You need to figure it out. You can't delay. Why are you being so slow about this? Because Knight of Swords in reverse isn't doing the thing it needs to do quickly enough. It's not being hard enough, cold enough, ruthless enough, strategic enough. So the pressure is on to be that energy instead of that energy. It's very clear to me that he's being urged to take out that sword, and that would be the fountain pen, the leaking fountain pen, and sign off on some document and do the deed instead of avoiding it. That's for me, that's what's coming through. Hopes and fears of the royals meeting at Balmoral. Knight of Cups. I think they're worried that he's gonna lose his nerve, the king, with the Knight of Cups. He's going to go into that energy, that sentimental, oh darling boy energy, and not be direct enough and forthright enough and ruthless enough. So it's interesting that we have this conflicting energy in this family. It's really showing up. We have this William driving this thing. We have the Queen of Cups at the heart of this thing, and we've got the Queen of Swords who's girded her loins because of the Colombia thing and other recent events, and thought, we need to get tough now. We've got the royal family pressure on the king. You must be more ruthless, and the worry that he's going to go all flip-floppy about it and send out some signal that's too weak to, and I'm not a hater, I'm not a Charles hater. I try to be neutral in these readings as much as I can be, to just get the good energy. They're just worried about that. Or even that Harry is going to ingratiate himself, suddenly arrive at Balmoral on the way back from Colombia, a very long and indirect route, show up on the doorstep. Outcome, titles, royal family resolve, what's going to happen? I've got the Six of Swords. It's in reverse. I don't think they're going to do it. Upright. It's taking away, it's moving on, it's leaving behind. I don't think the king is going to be able to pull the trigger on this one. I hope I'm wrong, but this is the Six of Swords because I think they deserve to have their titles removed given their behavior. But the Six of Swords is in reverse, which means staying in a situation that is difficult instead of pushing through it, leaving it behind. And there might be some trouble. There might be some trouble between this Chariot and this Knight of Cups as a result of this, if this outcome is the outcome, unfortunately. We'll have to see. So don't get your hopes up according to these cards. It's definitely on the table, but I think there's one sticking point, and that is the King and his reluctance to do this. That's my opinion anyway, and that's the reading. Thanks for watching. I'll see you tomorrow.